What actually makes an ancient find unforgettable? Is it the sheer age or the craftsmanship, or is it the way it rewrites what we thought we knew about the past? Maybe it's the silence, the unanswered questions buried with it. Because sometimes, the real magic isn't in the artifact itself, but in the mystery it refuses to explain. These 15 incredible ancient discoveries aren't just old, they're astonishing, strange, and in some cases downright unexplainable. Let's start off with number 15. The Shabti figures. Shabti figures, also known as Shabti or Shabti, are small figurines placed in tombs to serve the deceased in the afterlife. But they were never just decorative. Each one was a worker, carved to obey the voice of the dead. Some tombs held hundreds, even one for every day of the year, all lined up like a miniature workforce in eternal waiting. Their purpose? Well, it was, let's say, pretty big. To take on the burdens of labor in the afterlife, farming, building, carrying, so the soul could rest in peace. Some even came with tiny tools, as if they knew what was coming. These weren't idols of worship but tools of control. They offer a glimpse into the minds of people who believed the next life needed schedules, servants, and preparation. In a world obsessed with permanence, the Egyptians made sure that even death ran on time, and Shabtis were the insurance policy. These weird things are not for survival but for comfort after it is all over. Number 14. Medieval books in exotic sealskins. At Clairvaux Abbey in France, a strange discovery challenged what anyone expected from old monastic libraries. Most ancient volumes were wrapped in common hides, deer, sheep, boar, but several fur-lined books from the 12th and 13th centuries stood out. DNA tests revealed something unexpected: a seal. Not local either, harbor seals from Scandinavian waters or even Greenland. How they get there is still a debate. Norse hunters may have traded the skins, and monks used them unknowingly. Or perhaps they did know and value the odd material for reasons now lost. These books weren't bound in luxury. They were bound in something that didn't belong, and that's what makes them unforgettable. They bridge distant places, frozen coastlines, and candle-lit scriptoria. Nothing about them feels accidental, even if it was. Each cover, stitched and stretched by hand, tells a story the scribes never meant to write, a story about travel, trade, and how far a monk would go to protect a prayer. This 2025 find is super incredible. Number 13. The Temple of Luxor. The Temple of Luxor, located on the east bank of the Nile in modern-day Luxor, is a vast and grand temple complex that dates back to the New Kingdom period, with construction spanning several dynasties. Every part of it holds weight. This wasn't just a place to worship gods, it was a theater for divine presence. The avenue of sphinxes didn't just lead to stone, it guided ceremonies, processions, and the voices of priests echoing into the open air. Amenhotep III began its construction. Ramses II left his legacy carved deep into pillars and walls. But it wasn't a single man's monument. It evolved with time, like a memory rewritten over centuries. People came here to see the gods parade, to ask for rain, or to mark the start of a new rule. Even now, its columns dwarf you. They don't invite, they confront. The scale, the silence, the surviving paint, it all speaks louder than any book. Luxor didn't try to impress. It was built to overwhelm. Number 12. The Beni Hasan tombs. The Beni Hasan tombs are a series of rock-cut tombs located in the Middle Egypt region, dating back to the Middle Kingdom period from 2055 to 1650 BC. But unlike the grand tombs of pharaohs, these were made for governors, officials, and other elite members of provincial life. Their walls weren't about divine birthrights or cosmic balance. They told human stories, hunting scenes, wrestling matches, boat building, weaving, and trade, ordinary moments captured with care. They didn't aim for eternity through gold, they chose paint and memory instead. The tomb owners wanted to be remembered for their roles in daily life, not just their death. Biographical inscriptions give us names, ambitions, and family ties. Some even show contact with foreign peoples, hinting at trade, conflict, and diplomacy. These tombs didn't elevate the dead to gods. They simply preserved people as they were proud, busy, and hopeful that their efforts would be seen again. And thousands of years later, they are. All right, guys, now let's talk about something scary. Number 11. Hunting kit recovered. This hunting kit from a Texas cave turned out to be one of the oldest, most complete weapon sets ever found in North America. Deep inside San Esteban rock shelter, an indigenous hunter once sat with a fire and laid out their gear. Some things they kept, some they tossed. A spear, poison-tipped darts, a throwing stick, each piece still bears the marks of use. Archaeologists found the tools just as they were left, along with a folded antelope hide tucked in nearby. No ritual, no burial, just a pause in a day that happened 6,500 years ago. That pause, though, holds weight. It gives us insight into how people hunted, adapted, and chose what mattered. It isn't just about the weapons, it's about the hands that made them and the decisions behind every notch and wrap. The gear tells a quiet story of skill and instinct. It reminds us that history isn't only in temples and tombs. Sometimes it hides in the careful pack of a lone hunter. Number 10. The Stele of the Vultures. The Stele of the Vultures takes us back nearly 4,600 years to one of the earliest known recorded battles in human history. What remains today is only a fractured slab of limestone, but even in pieces, it radiates the kind of authority ancient kings used to shape the world around them. It comes from Lagash, a Sumerian city-state that clashed violently with its rival Umma over contested farmland. This wasn't a mythologized war, it was real, brutal, territorial, and personal. The king of Lagash, Anan, is mentioned by name in Sumerian cuneiform. The stele shows rows of soldiers marching in order, gods watching from above, and vultures carrying off severed heads, imagery that leaves nothing to the imagination. Only 7 pieces of the stele survive, discovered in Iraq in the 19th century and now kept in the Louvre. But even incomplete, it's a declaration carved in stone: we won, we conquered, and we want the gods and the earth itself to remember it. Number 9. The Thracian chariot burial. In 2008, deep in the Bulgarian village of Karabunar, archaeologists found something chilling: a 2,000-year-old chariot still standing upright in the earth, with 2 horse skeletons harnessed in place. They hadn't decayed where they collapsed. They were buried alive. This wasn't symbolic. This was sacrifice. A Thracian noble had died, and his final ride into the afterlife came complete with animals, gear, and even a dog, possibly a beloved pet or another unwilling companion. The chariot wheels stretched over 4 feet in dia, and were decorated with rich silver detail and mythological figures. It wasn't just transport, it was status. The burial reflects a culture where high rank comes with a high cost, even after death. This wasn't an ordinary ritual. 4-wheeled chariots are rare in Bulgarian archaeology, suggesting that whoever lay beneath that tomb commanded not just land but reverence. The scene they uncovered isn't romantic or elegant, it's heavy and unforgettable, a moment frozen in soil that forces us to confront how people once measured honor. Number 8. The David Plates. Crafted in the heart of Constantinople nearly 1,400 years ago, the David Plates are 9 silver masterpieces that feel more like a royal declaration than religious art. They weren't tucked away in some forgotten corner, they were meant to be seen, admired, and talked about. Each plate shows a different scene from the life of King David, from slaying lions to ruling his kingdom. Their presence in Cyprus, where they were unearthed in 1901, suggests they were either diplomatic gifts or treasured loot. Scholars believe they belonged to Emperor Heraclius, who may have seen his military victories as spiritual echoes of David's legendary conquests. These aren't casual decorative pieces, they're bold, gleaming statements, not just religious symbolism, but personal narrative cast in metal. The idea of an emperor comparing himself to a biblical hero might sound audacious, but in the Byzantine world, rulers didn't just claim crowns, they claimed legacies. And the David plates? They're still doing that work long after their owner is gone. Number 7. The Pool of Gibeon. In the rolling hills just north of Jerusalem, archaeologists in the 1950s uncovered what looked at first like an ordinary stone-lined shaft. But as they dug deeper, they realized it wasn't a hole. It was a message from a time long before modern roads or cities. The Pool of Gibeon, referenced in the Bible, was carved 88 feet deep through solid limestone until it met the water table. The builders, whoever they were, left no names, no dedications, no idols. It was a perfect spiral staircase twisting downward, each step cut by hand. It wasn't a temple, but it may as well have been. What it took to dig that kind of structure without machines is staggering. The pool could have served military needs, supported a settlement, or held ritual meaning. But what matters most is that it was built to last, and it has. Pritchard, the archaeologist who claimed to have found it, believed it to be one of the ancient world's greatest engineering feats. Time has done little to prove him wrong. Number 6. Bronze Age weapons of Oman. In a ruined building near the town of Anan, Oman, a collection of Bronze Age weapons lay hidden for millennia. They weren't scattered or broken, they were arranged carefully, like someone meant for them to be found. But much later, the cache included bows, axes, and strange short quivers of arrows too small for real use, more likely crafted for ritual, display, or perhaps even children. But none of it felt accidental. Bronze wasn't easy to work with, and these tools were shaped with deliberate hands. Some believe they were offerings. Others see them as symbols of status or ceremony. The details etched into the metal, the way the pieces were positioned, everything about it points toward meaning, even if we can't decipher the message. No battlefield, no bodies, just a still moment caught in time, long before the region became a desert. It's a reminder that even tools of war can be preserved as gestures of identity, culture, or belief, not just destruction. Number 5. The ancient canoe in Wisconsin. In the cold waters of Lake Mendota, archaeologists pulled up something that hadn't seen sunlight in 3,000 years. A canoe carved from a single log by people who navigated this same shoreline when pyramids were still rising across the ocean. It's older than any canoe ever found in the Great Lakes. It's also the oldest physical proof that people here weren't just surviving, they were traveling, fishing, trading. A second canoe was found just a year earlier, not far from the same spot. That coincidence raised serious questions. Was this once a lakeside village, a harbor for a now-vanished community? Researchers are now combing the area, hoping to trace footsteps erased by time. The canoe itself is being preserved with help from local tribal nations, who understand better than anyone that it isn't just a wooden vessel, it's a memory, shaped by hand. Used with purpose, lost without ceremony. Now found again, just as questions begin to rise from the water alongside it. Alright guys, now, let's head over to Number 4. The Kizil Caves of China. The Kizil Caves, cut into cliffs along the edge of China's Tarim Basin, aren't just architectural marvels, they're stories painted in silence. Carved over 2,000 years ago by Buddhist monks, the caves form one of the oldest surviving cave temple complexes in China. Traders passed nearby on the Silk Road, carrying spices, silk, and stories. The walls inside these chambers are alive with murals, Buddha's past lives, legendary fables, and quiet moments rendered in deep ultramarine blues pulled from lapis lazuli. That color wasn't cheap, it meant something. These caves were holy ground. Each chamber feels like a confession carved in stone, a record of devotion, of belief that even in the darkest space, light would find a way. Despite the isolation, the details inside suggest global reach, stylistic echoes from India, Persia, and beyond. This wasn't just a monastery, it was a cultural beacon along the desert's edge. The caves remain, faded but unbowed, still whispering prayers in pigment. What do you think about it? Let us know. Number 3. Ovelgönne bread roll. When archaeologists pulled an ancient charred lump from an Iron Age trash pit in Lower Saxony back in 1952, they probably didn't expect it to be a loaf of bread. But there it was, shrunken, blackened, forgotten, and yet still unmistakably bread. The Ovelgönne roll is now the oldest known baked good in Europe, a dense reminder that thousands of years ago, someone ground their grain, shaped their dough, and set it to bake. Then something went wrong. Maybe it burned. Maybe they bit into it and cracked a tooth. Tiny pieces of metal are lodged inside. Was it sabotage? A mistake? Something ritualistic? No one knows. But it was tossed, discarded, left to decay with broken tools and food scraps. And somehow it endured. Not as an artifact of glory, but as a fragment of daily life. No empire is attached to it. No grand mythology, just proof that even 2,800 years ago, someone had a bad day in the kitchen. Number 2. The Anan sword. Found by accident in a Minnesota field in 1911, the Anan sword has remained one of those rare artifacts that gives up nothing easily. It's not just that it's old, its origins defy classification. Too heavy for a ceremonial blade and too weird to match known Viking or medieval designs. Some thought it was a hoax. Others argued it belonged to the 19th century militia. But its form, short, blunted, marked with deep wear and handcrafted brass fittings, suggests something older, maybe even forgotten entirely. The symbols etched into its crossguard don't match anything cleanly in recorded history. A helmeted figure, crossed axes, a breastplate, iconography that whispers across cultures but settles into none. The weapon looks like it was ritually disabled, its edge flattened by a hammer before being buried. That last detail says a lot. Not just about warfare, but about purpose. Someone took this sword out of service permanently. Whether that act was sacred, symbolic, or personal, we still don't know. And that mystery keeps it amazing. Number 1. Puente del Inca. Puente del Inca. The Inca's bridge sits high in the Andes, painted in vivid yellows and oranges that look man-made but aren't. It wasn't built by engineers. It formed over centuries as mineral-rich water from nearby hot springs layered deposits across a glacier-carved valley, eventually hardening into an arch. The Inca didn't build the bridge, but they did leave their mark. Carved stone baths on its side suggest it was once used as a ritual site or a resting place for travelers heading through the mountains. In the early 1900s, it became a spa town with a church and a hotel nestled in the valley. A powerful spring flood destroyed most of it and left the bridge too fragile to cross. Today, no one walks on it. You can only stand back and look. In its silence, you see both the geological patience that shaped it and the stories of people who believed the mountain itself could carry them forward. Well, we really hope you've enjoyed this video. If you did, please like it, share it, and subscribe to our channel for more awesome content like this. Thanks for joining us on this journey, and we'll see you very soon in the next one.